So I was going to actually record Madara versus Aizen before I did this. However, yeah, so I guess we're stuck doing this for now. Before we start, I just want to talk about this death battle. It wasn't actually too bad, I don't think. I knew it was going to be requested, and I knew they were going to say some stuff that I would just like to clear up. A lot of people get this negative vibe from my channel because of the red X and the sense of humor I usually have in my videos, but that's usually just a persona, and I want to prove that today by making today's video more mature, for what it's worth anyway. And before we get into it, I also wanted to touch up on a few things that don't really relate to power scaling. A lot of people were kind of coming to me with like this concept: Seth, don't debunk this. Naruto should win the battle. Ichigo is weaker than Naruto. It shouldn't be debunked. They're not wrong. And with stuff like that, I don't really care who wins battles, ever. I've debunked videos where Dragon Ball characters win battles, and I'm an apparent Dragon Ball tard, right? And it's like, you shouldn't care who wins the battle. You should care about how they're representing the characters. So, for example, let's say Timebreaker Bardock, my favorite Dragon Ball character ever, was faced up against Cosmic Armor Superman, right? Because apparently I'm a big Superman hater. So, my favorite Dragon Ball character versus apparently my most hated other fictional character. And they said Cosmic Armor Superman obliterates Bardock. I would be perfectly okay with that. But if they said Cosmic Armor Superman obliterates Bardock because Bardock is barely a planet buster, just like the rest of Dragon Ball, then I would have a problem. And that's how you should kind of view these battles. You shouldn't really care about the victor of the battle or if it coincides with your fanboy taste. You should care about the information displayed. And also, ScrewAttack has admitted numerous times now that it is mainly for entertainment. They say that Wiz and Boomstick are just personas. They're not actually trying to answer or make the final answer to the death battle. They're just giving their best thoughts. A lot of people also were going about this, that, oh, they're intentionally attacking Bleach. And I have to disagree. I think if you said, oh, Ichigo is 4th dimensional or 5th dimensional, scaling off of the statement with Aizen, and he was infinitely stronger than Naruto, and he's just not meant for these kind of death battles, then a lot more Naruto fans would be salty. And also, the Naruto fan base is bigger than the Bleach one, whether you agree with that or not. So, I'm completely neutral on Naruto versus Ichigo. I find them very similar. I have a lot of friends that think Ichigo wins. I have a lot of friends that think Naruto wins. And I've actually been working on a series of Naruto versus Bleach videos. I already did the Espada versus the Akatsuki. That went very well. I was actually going to follow it up with Madara versus Aizen. And if you guys are interested in that, please subscribe and look forward to that in the future. I've been doing a lot of research on Naruto versus Bleach, and obviously for this debunk and for those videos, so I do have a lot on my plate here. And otherwise, let's get started. So the first 16 minutes of the actual Naruto versus Ichigo video is basically history filler for more advertisements, not to throw any shade or anything, but it is basically useless information, mainly meant for time constraints. So I am going to be ignoring that. If you have any problems with that, feel free to yell at me or smash that dislike bar for whatever reason. And I'm going to be going into the actual scaling that they gave at the end of the video, where the scaling is actually relevant. They start off by explaining why Naruto can fight Ichigo even though he's not technically visible to the naked eye, which I actually do agree with. Although comparing Reishi to the souls in Naruto is somewhat of a logical fallacy for many reasons. The afterlives and laws of the two verses are obviously different, and it's not logical to blatantly compare them and say that they're the exact same. Obviously, astral forces work differently in almost every form of fiction. Now they go on to the speed side of things. So for Naruto's speed, as I've stated before, props to this death battle. They actually did a pretty good job, like I said. They actually used guides this time. It's far more consistent to use these guides instead of just run around with useless headcanon on how it should work while fighting author intent of the series. But there's still an issue here. For one, they state that Naruto's combat speed should be lightning level based off his battle with the 4th Raikage. And this is wrong for many reasons. For one, it's never confirmed the 4th Raikage is the speed of lightning. However, I do agree it's very possible he's above or at lightning speeds. In the data books, manga, and anime, Kakashi with his lightning blade was stated to be able to chop lightning bolts in half with Chidori. And we do know that heavily fatigued Sasuke Uchiha could launch lightning speed Kirins. Willis terminally ill, half-blind, dead Itachi could react to them. So yes, it's very easy to say 4th Raikage is on lightning level. However, as I said before, there are multiple issues. And the issue here is that they're implying the unmastered raw KCM, or QB Chakra mode state, is just as fast as 6-Path Sage mode. By slyly just throwing in, but hey, look at this reaction feat 6 Paths did. Now, if we're going to be logical here, 6 Paths Sage mode is even more powerful than just the base 10 Tails. This is shown by Naruto overpowering 10 Tails Rinnegan Madara without even using his 6 Paths cloak, let alone the half-assed yanked KCM cloak early in the war. To put this into perspective, the 9 Tails is a beast that developed much differently than the others. Its hatred swelled into power and massively increased its size and strength. With even half its chakra, it was capable of fending off 6 other Bijou with no difficulty. 6 Paths Sage mode would be even above a full 9 Tails, let alone half, with all of the other Bijou put together, along with Madara and a Rinnegan. Even lowballing, this would be far beyond KCM base cloak numerous times. The last issue of this lightning KCM scaling is they claim this is based off the return stroke of a lightning bolt, which is an even bigger assumption and stretch. Let me explain what a return stroke of a lightning bolt is real fast, and explain what a lightning timer level fighter like Kakashi would actually be. You can find many explanations like this as well on government websites if you want to, like lightning safety, etc. The return stroke is the very bright, visible flash that we see as lightning, caused by the rapid discharge of electricity. Once the stepladder makes contact with the streamer, the negative charge that has been accumulated along the leader channel flows rapidly to ground. The movement of the charge starts at the point of contact and rapidly works its way upward as the charge is drained from the channel. Essentially, the return stroke is most of the flash of light that occurs after the lightning hits the ground and is ignoring the stepladder. A stepladder would be what actual lightning level fighters look like, and here I'm going to quote, "The vehicle by which these electrons move from the cloud to the ground is called a stepladder. It moves to the ground in rapid luminous steps that are about 50 yards long. Each step occurs in less than 1 millionth of a second, and the time between each step is about 1/50 millionth of a second. The stepped ladder, moving at a velocity of about 200 miles per hour, takes about 1/100th of a second to travel from the cloud to Earth." So essentially about 220,000 miles per hour, not 220 million miles per hour going off of the flash of a return stroke. Because if you did dodge lightning, you would be dodging the contact of the actual lightning or the stepladder, with the return stroke not really activating. So it's very logical to assume that you'd be dodging the actual return stroke, because the return stroke usually happens after it makes contact. Moving on, 6 Paths Naruto is faster than light in reactions, and nothing contradicts it, and I agree with that. He was able to keep up with Sasuke's teleportation and casually dodge the light beam from Madara. And yes, he did show this in the manga as well. The manga simply showed it in one frame, whereas the anime is actually an animated cinematic of what's happening. I've explained this in more in depth in other videos, but once again, this is kind of lowballing. This might be a surprise to some people, but it is actually a little bit of a lowball, simply because the Sage Art Light Fang is a super casual, no hand signs jutsu Madara just kind of spits out with just one Rinnegan. As a reminder, Madara gets another Rinnegan that massively increases his power, shown by him increasing his Limbo clones to 4. He then even gets the Renni Sharingan that grows him even further, with Kaguya surpassing this way beyond that, as stated by Naruto. And then Naruto, when going all out, was able to swap hands with her briefly. So there's no reason to suggest that this weaker Madara variant with the casual Sage Jutsu is the max of their abilities. They also used the Bankai guide for Ichigo, which I approve of. This lightning scaling is backed up by numerous things in Bleach, like Arenero absorbing over 30,000 hollows, many of which are over the speed of sound with sound step or sonido, with many other Espada surpassing hundreds of times over using release scaling, like a base Espada can crap on a previous one's release state, and that one can release and become tens of times stronger on top of that, and then that one's surpassed by another one. So yes, it's very easy to say that they're at least lightning level. I'm also glad they understand the difference between combat and reaction speed, finally. Although once again they used KCM compared to 6 paths out of desperation to compare the two, and it doesn't really work. They themselves admitted that their speed calc for Ichigo is a stretch in their Naruto versus Ichigo question and answer video as well, and understandably so. The entire calc is based on assumptions for normies that nod their heads to everything that sounds like a complicated math problem they don't really want to think about. They then go into detail about how Ichigo has problems damaging people stronger than himself, which is true. But that's mainly the style of the manga and the combat in the series. The exact opposite could actually be said for Naruto's combat, in which far weaker fighters can damage opponents that are supposedly millions of times out of their league. Here we get into multipliers. Now, multipliers are always a fun thing to talk about, and I don't have a problem with them, but they claim Ichigo's hollow mask is probably not 10 times, which is far from the case. We know that a Bankai is relative to the resurrection form of an Espada, or how Ichigo isn't even base Grimmjow level, yet with his mask he evolves to the point he could body resurrected Grimmjow, even though the resurrection is basically their equivalent of a Bankai. It's simply illogical to assume it doesn't offer a substantial increase of 5 through 10 times, like a Bankai if not more. I know they did end up using it anyway, as you know, given the benefit of the doubt. However, I did just want to debunk that misconception. Also, I'd like to say that Ukiura in his first release was toying with Ichigo. Base Ukiura versus that Ichigo is a far closer match when they did fight. They then slapped some upscaling on an Ukiura level attack and call it a day for Ichigo. I'll get into why that doesn't work later on. ScrewAttack then claims a random unfocused blob of chakra falling out of Naruto's body should be his maximum attack potency, which is wrong for many reasons. I'll go into more in a bit, but it should be noted that this is unfocused and non-attack related chakra. It's quite literally just raw chakra. A good example of what I'm getting at is the jutsu and condensed use of chakra far exceeds the powers of just the base chakras of the user, such as Sage Naruto getting slapped away by the Nine Tails, yet seemingly obliterating Kurama with the Rasen Shuriken, or how the Ten Tails is an extremely powerful monster, but when it is in a Jinchuriki, can become far more stronger due to the shinobi's ability to focus its energy. All in all, this moon feat is shabby at best, and even random faceless cloud shinobi in the same movie, pooling a ton of their chakra together, we're going to teleport the entire moon away and destroy it. And if we know anything about Naruto, it's that his chakra far surpasses even the Shinobi Alliance, let alone an extremely torn up Cloud Village. I think they also did a good job explaining the Hado technique that was apparently star level, because I agree that Ichigo slapping away Hado or Might Guy running in warping space are not star level attacks. You should definitely not highball Naruto to that level without more evidence. We have no idea how warping space really works, and obviously black holes work much differently than simply just bending space a tad bit. Although they kind of ruined this by saying Ichigo got damaged by an attack weaker than the calc they gave to Ukiura to try to debunk it, and that doesn't really make sense unless you're implying Dangai is weaker than the mass release that fought Ukiura, which is kind of out there. Now this is the fun part of the video. Yuha and Kaguya aren't planet busters, and Naruto and Ichigo don't scale to them. Oh boy. The first claim they make is that Kaguya is only a planet buster using the Shinobi Alliance and Earth's population as well as her own. Earth's population having literally no chakra in comparison to the Shinobi Alliance. This is wrong simply because you seem to forget that KCM cloaked Naruto, went around the battlefield and slapped everyone on the back and gave them all 3 times the amount of chakra Kakashi had normally. Kakashi being a Kage level fighter by this point. Meaning Naruto with no effort was over 3 times stronger than the Shinobi Alliance with just 1/2 of the Nine Tails, let alone when he got a form stronger than all the Bijou and Sage Mode put together, and then actually absorbed all nature energy on the entire planet to fight Sasuke, in which Sasuke originally absorbed all the tailed beasts, in which all the tailed beasts put together were comparable to a small planet, even when unfocused on the sensory board. Even Toneri in the same movie you're referencing was going to absorb solar energy and try to destroy Earth, in which Naruto acknowledges he's capable of doing that, implying it's extremely easy for them to reach these levels in a short amount of time. So is it logical to throw everything out of the window for Naruto God tiers because Kaguya absorbed energy from the Shinobi Alliance that shouldn't even been 10% of her power to create an orb greater than a planet plus size dimension because it can hold a moon in it? Over a feat that was just a random uncontrolled glob of energy exploding? Sure, why not? They then claim Yuha isn't planetary because he was going to destroy the world via collateral effect with the balances of their structures, which once again, there's a problem. Yuha wasn't going to destroy the worlds, he was going to destroy and recreate them afterwards. The Soul King's power was enough that it spread throughout all the worlds, and this was absorbed by Yuha. However, this isn't even a main selling point. Yuha in his final battle with Ichigo was going to obliterate all the worlds literally on top of him in the same fight. It was physically the plot at that point. It was the dramatic effect, implying Ichigo was going to be erased in something much more than a balance collapse. In fact, Tite even went out of his way to draw a random panel of the planet away from the battle. We don't even know where this takes place, having Yuha's energy forcibly blowing out of it to signify Yuha was affecting other planets or other parts of the planet, and that he was going to destroy everything, like he was saying. This can also be backed up by Yamamoto and his Bankai. In the battle with Yuha, Yamamoto, just on the suppressed release of his Bankai, where he was holding it all within his sword, was evaporating every bit of water or moisture in the Soul Society. The Soul Society being a parallel world to our actual one. This proves Yamamoto's Bankai had massive range, at least on a planetary level, and that captains and Yamamoto then claim that if Yamamoto's Bankai goes on for too long, and he can't restrain the whole thing, the entire Soul Society along with them will be destroyed. And yes, we've already established Yamamoto has planetary range. Even lowballing, this would be a life wiper level attack and beyond continental levels, with Yuha obviously surpassing that tens of times over just by mere scaling, and you have been upscaling this entire video. Yuha then absorbs this power casually along with the Soul King and Mimihagi, so there's absolutely zero reason to doubt Yuha can destroy worlds, simply because you refuse to believe Bleach can be scaled past the Espada arc halfway through the series. Every character also confirms Yuha's plans. Tite was simply going for a last all-or-nothing battle and got rushed. Claiming Ichigo can only be scaled to the Espada because you can't find any way to scale anything else is an appeal to ignorance fallacy that is obviously extremely lackluster and doesn't apply to anything objectively. Overall, I don't agree or disagree with who wins the actual fight. I'm just mainly stating my disagreements with the death battle, and obviously making this video because I got requested on every video I made on Twitter, on Discord, and you guys wouldn't leave me alone. So I hope that answers your questions with what I had problems with. I'm currently neutral on Ichigo versus Naruto, and I have been planning a versus video on this topic myself for quite some time. I'm actually working on Aizen versus Madara first. I actually announced Naruto versus Ichigo in my Espada versus Akatsuki video months ago, and then Death Battle obviously announced theirs like a month later, and I was like, oh, okay, so I'm probably gonna have to debunk that first. So anyways, hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something. You know, be sure to subscribe if you want to see that Aizen versus Madara video. I'll go into more detail about the actual calcs of them instead of just debunking claims. And till next time.